pan dorato. And pan dorato is a version of pandoro, a sweetbread that comes from Verona in the Veneto region of Italy. And pandoro means golden bread because of all of the eggs that are in the bread. And you want to start with some butter in a pan, about 9 ounces of butter. You get that soft, and then add about 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Get that gradually mixed into the butter. And then you want to have ready 4 egg yolks. You've separated your eggs because you're going to be beating the whites into this. Now I'm making a quick version of the pandoro, and that's why it's called pandorato. The original version has yeast in the dough, and that's what makes the bread rise. But this version has no yeast. It has baking powder and it has egg whites. So get the egg yolks in one at a time. And then set that aside after you add in a little bit of cognac, about a tablespoon, and a little bit of lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, about a tablespoon and a half. And then the last thing I want to add with that is a little bit of vanilla. You see, if we were making the classic pandoro, we would have several risings after we made the yeast mixture. It's really an all-day process. This can be cooked immediately. Okay, there's our wet mixture, and now we have to sift. And here's our sifter. And now we want to sift this over the egg mixture. So this goes in, about a cup of unbleached flour, and this is potato starch now, made from ground potatoes, obviously, and this gives a very light texture to this cake. We want a cup of that as well, and a teaspoon of baking powder, and that goes in. So now you very simply get this mixture in, and then beat it in with your mixer. So now that I have that in the bowl, before I start mixing that, I've got to go turn on the egg whites. Here I have my 4 egg whites in a copper bowl, and I'm adding 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar to help those egg whites whip. Now you have to listen to a little noise as I get the flour and the potato starch. The potato starch really gives this cake a very light texture. But if you're using the classic pandoro mold, you want to make sure that you have buttered this and floured it very well, because you see the deep crevices that a pan like this has. But when a cake comes out of this, it looks absolutely wonderful, and it's just perfect for the holidays. So here is our flour, potato starch, egg, and sugar mixture, and now we have to get our egg whites folded in to this. So I'm going to take this off now, and if you can, beat the egg whites in a copper bowl. If you don't have a copper bowl, you got to have a glass bowl, but don't do this in a plastic bowl, because plastic tends to have grease. Even though you wash it very well, things that you often keep in plastic are too greasy, and the grease residue will prevent the egg whites from whipping. So you don't want to have that happen. So you see how nicely now our egg whites are folding into our batter. And this, as I say, lightens this up because we're not making the yeast version today. And you can make this ahead. You can actually freeze this bread, and then you'll have it all set for the holidays or any time of the year, really. So now it's ready to go into the pan. So let me set this aside. Here's our star mold. Remember, if you don't have this, you're doing this in another high-sided type of pan. You could do it in a coffee can if you had to. You're not going to have the classic star shape, but of course, you'll have this rich tasting bread to enjoy. So in it goes, and you want to have your oven on now to 350 degrees. This is going to cook, for about 35 or 40 minutes, and you want to occasionally go back with a cake tester and poke it in the center to make sure that the cake is not wet. If it's wet in the center, you're just going to have to cook it a little longer. So there it is. Once you have it in the bowl, then you just give it a little tap, and into the oven it goes. But now here we have our pan dorato, and it's been cooling a while now. And now I should be able to just turn this over, grab the sides, and it should come out. And there it is. You see? And it has that wonderful star shape. Now, what we want to do with this is give this a little bit of jam over the top. And I'm using apricot jam that I've just heated up. If you didn't have apricot jam, well, you could use apple jelly. You could use any other kind of jam. But I think this makes a nice base for the sugar to adhere to. So give it a nice glaze. Doesn't this look good? I wish you could be here to smell all of this. And then you want to give it a little bit of confectioner's sugar right over the top, just like that.